And away we go. Okay. All right, Diana, it's all yours.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now. Let's see. All right. Okay, so I'm Diana Lopez. I'm the branch manager at the Marin City Library. And I'm very pleased to be here today. So thank you for the invitation. And then with me today, I have David Finnane and Isiah Hurtado, who will introduce themselves. In addition to being the branch manager at the Marin City Library, with the help of my wonderful, amazing team, I also manage the 2 school libraries in the Sausalito Marin City School District. So David, would you like to introduce yourself? Did we lose David? Okay, David, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
I'm sorry, I was
That's all right.
speaking on mute. That's
okay.
David Finnane, principal at Bayside MLK, Nevada Street, which is a new unified elementary school in the Sausalito Marin City School District. Nice to see everyone.
Isiah.
Good morning, my name is Isiah Hurtado. I am the librarian over here at the Phillips Drive campus, and I'm the youth and family services librarian at the Marin City Library. Nice to meet you.
All right, so thank you both so much. I want to give you a little bit of a background on Marin City. So here's just a brief rundown of the Marin City community profile. One thing that I would really like to note is the poverty rate in Marin City is at 16%. Marin County has a population of about 250,000 people. Marin City is an unincorporated area. It's about 5 miles north of the Golden Gate Bridge. It has historically been a largely Black population during World War II. Many workers migrated here from the south to work at the nearby shipyard, Marin Ship. After the war, many African Americans were unable to relocate due to racially discriminatory housing and lending policies, otherwise known as redlining. Marin is one of the wealthiest, healthiest, and best educated counties in California, but the county also has the greatest educational achievement gap. And from 2018 to 2020, we ranked #1 in racial disparity in the state, according to the Advancement Project California. The project ranks California's 58 counties on how they performed in 7 key areas: democracy, economic opportunity, crime and justice, access to healthcare, healthy built environments, education, and housing. It also ranks the counties on the level of disparities that exists in these categories. In 2021, the Advancement Project California moved us to #2. So we haven't made much progress. As one example of this disparity, there's a 15-year difference in life expectancy between the nearby community of Ross, a mostly white community at 89.5% white. Their life expectancy is 94 years, and Marin City is 79 years. It's a disparity that correlates with per capita income. So as I noted previously on the slide for Marin City, the poverty rate was at 16%. If you'll note here in nearby Sausalito, the poverty rate is at 4.76%. So it's quite the difference. And we serve Marin City, but we also serve a lot of folks from the Sausalito community, in particular, a lot of the houseboat folks as well. So just a brief rundown on the Marin City Library. Here's some brief information about MCFL. Back in 2016, 2017, we had 10 facilities and 2 mobile vehicles. Now I really count our facilities. I count the 2 school libraries as among our facilities. So I would say we have 12. And we still do have 2 mobile vehicles, the bookmobile and our preschool on wheels, our learning bus. The Marin City Library was built in 1997. In 2015, we added Friday hours. When I first came here 8 years ago, the staffing consisted of Etienne Douglas, our webstar coordinator, 1 full-time library assistant, 2, and a part-time shelver and our webstars. And I was hired as a community library specialist, which is a paraprofessional position. We were closed on Fridays, and none of the partnerships that we now have existed. So when I was here, we would still be working on Fridays, and I would be here and I would see, especially the kids, kind of just riding their bikes around the shopping center that we're located in with nothing to do. And also for many of our folks here in the community, we're the only access to computers and the internet that they have. So I really pushed for us opening on Fridays. So now we are open 7 days a week. We're the only branch in MCFL's history to be open 7 days a week. We were the first library in the North Bay to offer free 3D printing to the public. And we're the only MCFL library with embedded staff in any public or private school. We were the only one, we were the first one with a formal school partnership. And we were the first branch to employ high school interns as web stars. And I'm really proud to say that 2 of our web stars have gone on to paraprofessional positions in our library. Our lead desk person is a former web star, and then our library tech over at the Nevada Street campus is also a former web star. So now we have a lot more staff. And I'm really blessed to have some really wonderful people on our team. I was, with Sarah Jones's leadership, I was promoted first to Librarian 1 and then to a branch manager. Let's see. So I'm going to hand it over to David, and he's going to talk to you a little bit about Bayside MLK and a little bit of about the segregation and our partnership. Take it away, David.
Okay, hello everyone. Again, nice to see you and thank you for being here. So this is an exciting time for us here in Sausalito, Marin City with a new desegregated program and unified schools. I imagine most of you know, but the Attorney General about 2.5 years ago issued the first desegregation order in 50 years in California with regard to the Sausalito Marin City School District. We had about 131 kids at that time and maybe 6 non-Black or brown students in the school. It was a heavily segregated school.
Our contributor and legal analyst, Shauna Lloyd, as well. She's joining us on the phone. And Shauna, I wanted to ask you about.
Got a mute.
We see him there again. These are from moments ago. His emotional.
Christine Donahue, can you mute? Got to get my train of thought back here. So the desegregation order brought the charter school that was functioning in Sausalito, Willow Creek Academy, and the district, Sausalito Marin City School District, which at that time was functioning at TK8 school in Marin City, to the table to try to figure out how to bring the 2 communities together and bring the children from both communities together. The outcome of that is 1 school, Bayside MLK Academy, that is located on 2 campuses. I'm at the elementary school, which is K5, and then in Sausalito, And the middle school and TK program, which is like preschool for 4-year-olds, is located at the Phillips Drive campus in Marin City. The work that's been done over the past 4 to 5 years in Marin City, and the work that has been done over the last 8 months between the two schools in unifying our staff, unifying our kids, bringing our parents together, working closely with our partners, has really been pretty amazing and pretty inspiring. The library, I say this in every meeting, Diana and her staff at the library in Marin City have been our closest partners. We have others like Performing Stars and Felicia Gaston, 10,000 Degrees with the school volunteers that are amazing, wonderful volunteers. But the most dynamic and really fruitful relationship we've had that's directly impacted our kids in school has been our relationship with the library system, and specifically with Diana. The library in Marin City 4 or 5 years ago looked like a library from 1950 in Omaha, Nebraska. And no offense to Omaha, Nebraska, my grandmother was born and raised there, but it didn't look like the kids with whom we were working. And so that library's been completely culled and transformed. And then when we unified this summer, Diana and her staff worked to completely cull through and then update, modernize the collection here in Sausalito so that we had a library that was not only first class, but also had literature that looked like the kids with whom we work. So when the kids go into the library, they see themselves in the book. They see their families in the books. So it's been a really exciting partnership that we've done together. Things are coming together really beautifully at both campuses with unification. We have a community school model. So our focus is on developing really meaningful relationships with partners in the community that can allow us to provide our kids and family with all the services they might need, from education to social, emotional, housing, food insecurity. In any way that we can be a service, our goal is to be of service. And things couldn't be going better. And Diana, I just have to say, if you can back up that screen, if you put that Wisconsin Bucky Badger there on the bottom right corner, you are,
I did.
you remain my hero.
I did. I thought it would be easier to so that you would know which ones are your slides. Yes.
I'm a proud Wisconsin Badger alum, and thank you for the notation.
I know. So just as a background to the images that you're saying there, thank you so much, David. We really are so happy to be in the school libraries and working with you. It's been amazing. On the left, you see a read poster, and you often see those with different celebrities. And what we did, and that's David there, holding one of the Diary of a Wimpy Kid books, which the kids love. We really wanted to do some posters that reflected our community and had people that the kids knew and cared about and made them feel welcome. So we took Etienne took pictures of different folks, David, different teachers and leaders in our community, and we've had a really positive response with regard to those posters. And then on the right hand side, a little while later, Isiah is going to talk about Smarty Ants, and that's Mike Wood. He's the creator of Smarty Ants, a app-based literacy program, and he is an incredibly generous, wonderful person, and he's there working with a young man on his literacy. So Marin City really, and the community partners here in our area really strive to come together and work, collectively as a collective impact. I really like what Marin Promise Partnership, how they, when they talk about collective impact, they say, together we can accomplish what none of us can do alone, sustainable, equitable systems change now and for future generations. So we really worked very hard to create a lot of partnerships here in Marin City, and of course around the county as well. But there are some examples there of some of the partners that we work with. The pictures that you see here are from our 2018 Read for the Record. So prior to COVID, we would participate in Read for the Record, and it's a yearly, it's usually geared towards like TK through second grade kids, and a picture book is chosen each year. And so we invite, we have a read-in, and it's the largest world read-in. And so each of the children, they all get a copy of the book, and community leaders take turns reading the book to the kids, and the Housing Authority and our friends purchase copies of the book for all of the kids. It's a really great program. I'm looking forward to picking that back up again at some point. But they're all gathered in the multi-purpose room on the Phillips Drive campus. And then other things that we have done with our partnership with the Marin Housing Authority, we have a partnership on the Book Rich Environment Initiative. So the Book Rich Environment Initiative is run by the National Book Foundation, and it's for collaborating with Marin Housing, or with housing authorities and public libraries, to get kids in public housing free books. So every year we get a substantial shipment, about over 1,000 books, that we give away to the kids in our community. And we're required to do 3 events a year. Normally we do a large scale cookout and book giveaway at Rocky Graham Park. We call it Books and Barbecue, and I'll tell you that everybody comes together. All of the community partners come together to support our kids, so we were not able to do that back in 2020 because of COVID, but we did do a recent back to school supply drive and cookout to celebrate the desegregation and also get the year off to a positive start. And Isiah will tell you about that in a little bit. So how this partnership began was we were doing, as most libraries do, we were doing class visits to the school. And at the time, we only had the one campus. It was about, I'd say the average of the kids we serve is about 120 kids over the years. At the one campus. Now we're serving well over 400 kids at both campuses. So we would do summer reading program, promotion class visits, and do story times. On the left, you see Etienne Douglas doing a story time for kids. And on the right, you see Ms. Mato's kindergarten class at the Marin City Library. So we had class visits coming to the library as well. We also would support wraparound services in the summer with our community partners. As an example, Freedom School, run by the Hannah Project, based on curriculum from the National Children's Defense Fund. We also would attend school family tech nights. So on the left, you see Etienne demonstrating live homework help for a father and a couple of his kids. And on the right-hand side, that's Becky. She has retired now, but we did library cards for all kids on the campus, and we went into the classrooms and gave all of the kids their library cards. So from there, it kind of blossomed into a previous administration asking asking me if we would be interested in doing an after-school club. They were looking for community partners to do that. So I said, yes, of course. So we did Marin City Makers, MC Makers, after school for about a year. So we focused on different STEAM activities. On the left, you see Keith. He's teaching the kids how to do DJ scratching, and they all made their own music and got a CD. And on the right-hand side, Adriel's doing candy science with the kids. So we had, it was awesome, but it wasn't sustainable once we had a change in staffing. Adriel, I'm happy to say that she finished her MLIS and then she went on to be a children's librarian for Sonoma. But that's okay, because then from there, it kind of bloomed into us having the agreement with the school district to actually manage the libraries. So previously, the library at the Phillips campus was staffed for 15 hours a week. And then the Nevada Street campus, when it was Willow Creek, was maybe about 10 hours a week. So with MCFL stepping in, the school library staffing at Phillips went from 15 hours a week to about 37.5 hours a week, with MCFL paying for the 22.5 hours. The former charter school, they did lose funding for library staffing at the end of the 2019-2020 school year. So we started working there with the former children's librarian at the Sausalito Public Library. She left the position, and so so they've been without a children's librarian for quite some time. But we, before she left, we started working on weeding the library there on the Nevada Street campus. And then our partnership with the Sausalito Public Library continued in the form of the Friends of the Library, Friends of the Sausalito Library, purchasing about $20,000 worth of books. And then we also took over employing a full-time person to run our Smarty Ants program, which was formerly done by the Boys and Girls Club. So I would say we weeded about, there's some books that we weeded in those boxes from the Nevada Street campus. We probably weeded in the first year, I would say we weeded close to 4,000 books, which is, I mean, you can see behind the book trucks how bare the shelves became. But we had to, because the books, unfortunately, many of their items were former library books from other schools and were just in very poor condition, a lot of really out of date materials. And as David was saying, none of the materials reflected our kids. And so on the right hand side, you see new books that are ready to go on the shelves. And that's some of the books that the Sausalito Friends purchased for us for the school. Collection management is always in progress. We also have support from our Friends of the Marin City Library, who purchased recently about $5,000 worth of books, and then have approved another 10. We are, because we serve a Title I school, we are eligible for buying books from First Book, which has a wonderful selection of very diverse books at significantly reduced cost to us. Our former director, Sarah Jones, was able to procure some funding for us to buy 25 laptops. We got a $10,000 innovation station grant from the California State Library, where we purchased early literacy station and STEAM materials like Cublets, makey kits, Strawbees, and more. So now we have staff on both campuses. one thing I really would like to note is I was on the Nevada Street campus recently, and they were doing class visits. And the teacher said that this was the first year that they've been able to do class visits, because prior to us being there, there was no staffing that would allow for class visits. So I was really happy to see that, and you could clearly see how happy the kids were to be in the library and check out books. So continued impacts, on the left side, you see project that we did for the summer, and we'll continue throughout the school year. We did tote bags with the support of our Friends of the Marin City Library and Friends of the Sausalito Library. Each TK through second grader got a tote bag with a book, some little swag, and then the bookmark is actually a punch card. So the punch card, they bring in the punch card every time they visit the library, and they receive a new book to take home. It's really important that we provide books so that kids can have access to books in the home. A huge part of literacy is having that access. And so that's also one of the goals that we have, not just with MCFL, but also at MCI with in particular with our partnership on the Book Rich Environment Initiative. So we continue to do that. On the right-hand side, those are some books that the Sausalito Friends purchased for the Phillips Street campus. So this is my school library dream team. Isiah Hurtado is our librarian. Kayla Thompson on the left is our community library specialist. And she's now 75% paid for by Sausalito Marin City School District and 25% by MCFL. On the right is Shayla Davis, our library assistant who runs our Smarty Ants program. I do want to mention that representation really does matter in staffing. And it's very important to me professionally and personally that I have people on my team that reflect the community that we serve. I want kids to see themselves not just in the materials and the programs and services we provide, but also in the staffing. So not pictured here, Nikki Got Health, who is a librarian and works half days, Mondays and Tuesdays with Isiah at the Phillips campus. Ebony Martin, who works after school on Mondays and Wednesdays on the Nevada Street campus. Jan Cohen, who has been an amazing help with all that processing of books. And my awesome branch staff who keep the branch running and also have helped with the revamping of the school libraries, moving material, equipment, and processing hundreds and hundreds of books. So I'm going to turn it over to Isiah, who will talk to you about some of the things that we've been up to in the past year.
Good morning. I'll talk about the back to school backpack giveaway. We kick off the 2021-22 school year with an end of summer celebration and a backpack giveaway. The library and SMCSD co-led an effort to collect enough backpacks and school supplies for every registered student in the district. And we distributed over 400 backpacks that weekend. Our efforts do not exist in a vacuum. Next slide, please. It takes an entire community. These are the partners that supported our back to school drive. However, there are many more county agencies, community groups, and nonprofit organizations that make our collaboration a success. Next slide. When the pandemic hit, we went virtual. Marin City Live, our virtual author events, are a partnership supported by Barbara Lane Productions and Sausalito Books by the Bay. They have allowed us to bring a diverse array of authors from across the country into the homes and classrooms of our students in Marin City. Barbara Lane secures the authors and financially supports the purchase of the books for, she purchases the books that we highlight in each author event. And with the help of Sausalito Books by the Bay and a generous discount, we're able to buy enough books for the selected grade levels for them to take a book home and add to their home libraries. The Marin City Library identifies the appropriate age group for each author and collaborates with the district and teachers to schedule the virtual events at a time that is less disruptive to class instruction and allows for greater student and teacher participation. Marin City Live helps us to further our goals of developing a love of reading and support our efforts of education equity by introducing diverse authors and diverse stories into our classrooms for everyone. The library also supports after-school programming. At the Nevada campus, we provide after-school programming 4 days a week. 3 of those days are dedicated to early literacy development for TK and kindergarten students, and the 4th day is for STEM and STEAM activities. Smarty Ants, our literacy tool, is a fun program that builds foundational literacy skills through a fun digital format. In addition to the games that the students play on tablets, library staff work with each student one-on-one to encourage and assess their progress. Reading Buddies, next slide, is a collaboration between the library, the school district, and Dominican University that was created to develop language literacy skills and promote reading as an enjoyable activity. SMCSD identifies the students that need extra support, and Dominican University students complete their required service hours by volunteering to read with the participating students. MCFL staff provide Professor Burke's creative writing students with a presentation on the importance of diversity in children's literature, as well as monitor the interactions of the Dominican students and the school district students. Our Smarty Ants rollout has been very successful this semester. There are currently 46 active Smarty Ants users at the district, 28 of which we see after school. Reading Buddies, however, at MCI has not been as smooth. With limited student volunteers and an awkward attempt at creating a hybrid virtual in-person program, we have decided to suspend the Reading Buddies program for this semester here, and instead are focusing our efforts on Smarty Ants. But every effort, successful or not, is a learning opportunity and offers us a chance to improve our programming for next semester.
It's very boring.
The libraries on each campus are busy, and with the support of our principals, we have prioritized making the libraries available to each student at least once weekly. The Nevada campus has 17 scheduled classroom visits a week, with the addition of after-school programming 4 days a week, and the Phillips Drive campus has 9 classroom visits a week, plus our doors are open to students during the lunch breaks, and the space is used for one-on-one language support and for student reading assessments with school staff. We are continuing to reach out and collaborate with our teachers as we want the library to support the work that they are doing in their classrooms.
Thank you, Isiah. So looking to the future and what this partnership looks like. So last year we renewed the partnership through 2023. We will continue to support at both school campuses with staffing and collection development. We'll continue a collaboration with Sausalito Library. They asked me to be on the selection panel for their new children's and youth services librarian, and so that recently happened. My understanding is that they have selected somebody, so that person will work with us in the school libraries. One of the things that we really would like to get off the ground is doing classroom instruction on information literacy. And the candidate that I believe was chosen, it has a lot of teaching experience. So we're looking forward to collaborating with that person and continuing that partnership and getting those programs off the ground. We did recently, with the help of Ramona Little-Taylor, our deputy director, and Lana Adlawan, our director, we applied for some, completed a grant application for staffing. My hope is that we can get an early literacy librarian on board and really focus on helping kids reach grade, school readiness as well as grade level reading. And then here in this picture, you see Circus of Smiles. That was one of our summer reading program performers a couple of years ago, and they're performing in the multi-purpose room at the Phillip Street campus, and it was so much fun. And so hopefully someday soon we'll be able to return to that.
Thank you, Diana. That was a fantastic presentation. As you can see, just a lot of exciting things going on down there, and a big shout out also to the friends who were able to come up with the funding to restock those shelves with current books. That's just really fantastic. I'm fortunate enough being on the library commission that I get to hear about these on an ongoing basis, but just to have it all recapped again here, I think it's thrilling. I think it's so fantastic for the community. So does anybody have any questions for our great presenters today? And if not, then they just did an amazing job.
Diana, maybe you could stop your share so we can see each other.
Sure. I just had one more slide,
I'm
and
sorry.
that's all
I'm
right.
sorry.
No problem. So this is our contact information. We certainly welcome communication. So if anyone has any questions in the future, or they want to reach out to us for more information or for anything else, please feel free to contact any of us, and our email addresses are there.
Great.
So I just have I suppose a comment, maybe a question will come out of it. But this is so wonderful. And it's the program that you have got going, the collaboration between the libraries and the schools is so rich. These kids are really, really lucky. I think that there are schools all over Marin County that could use something like this. It's really terrific. But just one from a personal experience, and I don't know how you found this. At one time, my background is in early math, and I did a lot of work with combining literacy and early math, and so I was working a lot with Head Start programs, and so I was looking for books that had children of color in them. And my goodness, was that challenging to find. There were some wonderful books, but it took a lot of research and a lot of effort to find those really good books that showed children of color and families of color in them. And I'm thinking that probably that's gotten better, but what is your sense of it? I mean, this was
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I'm 51 years old, and when I was growing up, there were no kids that looked like me. I'm third generation Mexican American, and so yes, traditionally that has been an issue. It has gotten better. There are some really great publishers like Lee and Low Books who really specialize in publishing diverse books. And over the years, over time, it has improved. It's not perfect, which, of course, nothing ever is, but it has gotten much, much better than it was. And one of the things that we work on as a system at MCFL is making sure that we have diversity in our collection. And when I say diversity, I don't just mean racial diversity. I also mean kids with different abilities, families, not your typical, nuclear family. So yes, it has gotten much, much, much better. And which, is, I'll share a story with you. We that Kayla, our community library specialist that's over on our Nevada Street campus, told me. So there's a book, I'm forgetting the title right now, but something about crescents. I can't quite remember the title, but in any case, it's about shapes and numbers, and it's the children in the book, the family is Muslim. And so this little boy, she had the book on display, and this little boy came and he was so excited. He said, that's my, thank you, Ramona, for that link. That he said, I'm Muslim. And he was so excited to see himself reflected in this book. And he asked Kayla if they could sit and read the book together, which of course she did. And he was just thrilled. So that, you know, things like that are really, that's why we do what we do. And so I'm so very pleased, you know, to bring those kinds of things, and you know, I have an awesome group that really focuses on that for our kids. So yeah, and early math is definitely related to early literacy. So
Yes.
Yeah.
They are intertwined as far as I'm concerned.
they are.
Teach them both at the same time.
Absolutely.
If you ever need a volunteer,
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I love this stuff.
Thank you, Ramona, for just posting these links to resources for diversity book purchases. And the Cooperative Children's Book Center in Wisconsin tracks diversity in children's books over the years. So thank you for that information. It's great. Great.
I have a comment and a question. So I work with Experience Corps, used to be called Experience Corps Marin, so which is teaching fluency in the schools. And so at some point, maybe I don't know if it seems like there's so much going on in the school, maybe it's just too much. But if that was a program that was the schools were interested, they don't really work with the library, but work through the school. So I was just talking to our coordinator about that, and wondering if there was other ways to make connections with schools. Yeah, so that's pretty fun thing that I do. But I wanted to ask, so with all the work that you guys are doing in terms of the desegregation, has there been cultural work with the communities, with the parents, with the white families? I mean, are you involved? And obviously I'm new to understanding what has happened. Obviously, so much has happened to get to this point, right? But I'm just curious if there has been stuff done with families in terms of culturally bringing these the groups together that pretty much have been so separated.
I think that's David. I think that's probably a question that he is better equipped to answer than I am. I do know that Jameer Reynolds, who is our community school director, is working on developing different affinity groups. And there is a parent school alliance. So I'm not sure if they, what cultural sensitivity training is involved with that. David, can you speak to that? If there's been any kind of cultural sensitivity or cross-cultural training among the parents?
To date, no. There's been a lot of work to get to the point where we are now, and there was a lot of conversation about race and about history and about why there's such a divide between with regard to trust, I guess. Not just historically in Sausalito and Marin City, but like historically for the last 500 years. There has not been race work done with our families. We are continuing to do race work with our staff. And we have a consultant that comes in regularly. We have a time on Wednesdays throughout the year called, the name of the program is called Race Matters. And we sit and talk about different topics facilitated by Dr. Lori Watson, who some of you may know of or have heard of. She's used to work with Glenn Singleton's group with Beyond Diversity, facilitating programs called Courageous Conversations. And Lori's gone off on her own now and has her own business. And we use her to facilitate. We have her coming in 3 times this year. The piece with the parents, we literally just had our first Parent School Alliance or Parent Club meeting this week. And I'm pleased to say that it was a diverse group of stakeholders in the room, and they're just getting going. And I think that we'll engage in that work as that group continues to evolve and build. But at this time, that work has not been done.
Yeah.
We do, there are, I know some of the community partners have had different programs centered around race. Felicia did some uncomfortable conversations programs with the county sheriffs and other law enforcement agencies and Black men here in Marin City. And then I know that some of our churches have done some programs. The MCFL has done some programs working with Showing Up for Racial Justice Marin. And then previously, before COVID, we were doing film nights, and we would have a lot of programming around that topic. We do have a selection of adult materials centered around racial justice in each school library, so that the teachers have access to those, and the parents too, if they would like to check those out. So we make it a point to have those materials available. And then MCFL also has the race conscious, the conscious kids kits that are all centered around race and different gender, immigration, different topics that come with a discussion guide. So we do encourage parents to check those kinds of materials out from us too. So there are some resources available, but that's definitely something that we look towards. I kind of feel like COVID sort of interrupted a lot of what we would like to do. So as we work to get back on track, I think those are some of the things that we will look to.
Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you for taking the time this morning. I think this has been fantastic. And again, I've recorded it and we'll be putting it up or getting it out to all our committee members and anybody else in the league that want to see it, because a lot of people just can't attend for some reason. So we want to make sure that we get this out to everybody. So really, thank you for your time today. This is fantastic.
Oh, you're
Really.
so welcome. Thank
Thank
you.
you very much. Good seeing everyone.